After days of congestion and bottlenecks at airports, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has finally woken up. By now, all of you have seen the situation inside airports in Delhi and Mumbai, all across social media. In case you haven't had a first-hand experience, there are long queues snaking through the departure halls and security check-in counters. In fact, even to enter the Delhi airport, for example, you could take anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes. Now, yesterday, the aviation minister made a visit to Delhi's Terminal 3. It was called a surprise visit, but he had already announced it a couple of days in advance. Today, the ministry has come out with 3 new directives. All 3 of them are for not airport authorities, but for the airlines. Number 1, airlines have been directly blamed for the current congestion at the airport. The ministry is saying that unmanned check-in counters are responsible for this chaos. Number 2, airlines have been asked to deploy more personnel at the counters to ease out the bottlenecks. And number 3, airlines have been asked to display waiting time updates on social media. This will ensure that passengers can plan their trips accordingly. Some airlines have already started making adjustments. Indigo, for example, is asking passengers to arrive 3.5 hours early for flights from Delhi airport. The issue has also caught the attention of Parliament. The Special Committee on Travel and Tourism has summoned the CEO of the Delhi airport on Thursday. Clearly, the government is focused on shifting the blame. They're saying it's the fault of the airline, not the government. But the fact is that congestion is everywhere in any airport. It's not just at the check-in counters or the baggage delivery. It's also at the immigration counters, the security check-ins, the entrance gates as well. So the Civil Aviation Ministry, to some extent, must take blame as well. But what's going on? How can things be fixed? And is it advisable for you to travel anytime this weekend or this festive season? That's a question I'm putting to my guests. Parvez Damnia is an aviation expert. He's joining us. Sanat Kaul is chairperson, International Foundation for Aviation, joining us. And Ajay Aftane is director, livefromlounge.com. He is joining us on the broadcast as well. Parvez Damnia, why are we seeing this mess? It seems that the aviation ministry is saying, Sari galti is airlines ka. Airlines have not been able to manage. Airlines may, the counters are unmanned, because of which we are seeing this rush. Fact is, even to enter the airport, at least as far as Delhi airport is concerned, it is taking you 30 to 45 minutes, and God save you if you are traveling on the weekend.
No, airlines are no way responsible for this confusion and mess. See, what has happened is basically our growth rate is so fast. The number of passengers traveling has increased tremendously. The load factors have increased tremendously. So our airport infrastructure is not taking the load. I don't think we had planned for this kind of recovery after COVID. So the whole collapse, plus the holiday season, plus a lot of flights clubbed together. So I think it's a lot of issues put together. Airlines cannot solve this problem immediately. It's not possible. You cannot increase staff overnight because there's a process of hiring staff, getting security clearance. It takes time. Now, I read the list of the points that the Civil Aviation Ministers pointed out and things to be done. Of course, that will help in reducing the congestion. It will help in making it easier for the passengers. But unless the government increases the infrastructure tremendously, it's not going to be solved very easily. Now, for example, Mumbai also, see, the situation is not just restricted to Delhi. All airports all over India are facing this infrastructure problem. Luckily, the government is doing everything possible to increase infrastructure, but infrastructure cannot be increased overnight. Certain issues were there. The government has cancelled leave of the CISF people, increased manpower.
Damnia, is it just infrastructure? Ajay, give me a minute. Is it just infrastructure? Ajay, the fact is that, anyone who tracks data will tell you that this growth in the aviation sector was predicted. We know that there are 4 lakh, plus passengers who used to take a flight, pre-pandemic levels, and that, after the pandemic is over, the number of travelers is going to increase. Sunday, I believe, was a record that was set. So is it just, is it just infrastructure that we didn't plan for infrastructure? Or is it also the fact that, during COVID, all airlines and airports sacked people, like people were sacked across industries, and you felt that there was no need to hire back the same amount. You thought you could make do with the bare minimum, which is why you're seeing what you're seeing. For example, one of the things that the aviation minister is saying, boss, at least get some people in your check-in counters. You cannot have them unmanned. Any airport you go to, even airports as busy as Bangalore, Bombay and Delhi, you will have, for every major airline, you will at least have 2 unmanned check-in counters. Obviously, there is going to be a rush in a line.
So, Shreya, let's go back on the basic facts. The queues are, the aggregation is happening a lot at the airport entry counters, which is the gates, and in the case of domestic passengers at the security check-in area, and in the case of international passengers who are arriving into India at the immigration counters. These are the 3 places that you will see most of the images and the videos that are floating around are coming up for passengers. Now, all these 3 are basically controlled by various departments of the government of India. Okay, they may be paid for by the airports, but at the end of the day, they are branches of the government which are basically responsible for these securities. So some of the things that have happened, I will fully agree with you on the fact, and I've been saying this for 10 days now, that this rise was predicted. When an airline takes a reservation, that is the airport's data that they need, right? You know, that on, let's say, 14th of December, X number of people will fly. On 15th of December, X number of people will fly. That can be easily projected with, let's say, maybe 2, 3, 4% margins. Now, what is happening is, one, obviously, the seasonality is that in November, December, and January, people fly more because it's holiday season, and the people from around the world, the Indians, come back and they're visiting their families and friends. Second thing, what has happened is, I believe, a part of this is because of all the private contractors that have been put in the security process. So back in the day, the CISF was fully responsible for the airport security, for the entire X-ray process. But what has happened now is the CISF is only responsible for the core function, which is to make sure that the passengers are frisked and scanned and the bags are cleared. The other parts have been given away to private contractors. These people are roaming around like headless chickens. Okay, they don't know, or they're still fresh out of training. They don't have the kind of faith of the passengers. So they're a bit clueless about what to do. And when passengers ask them questions, they don't give them direct answers. They're basically not being able to do their job properly. That's one. And the second is, I think a big part of the problem is also coming from the fact that our security theater has changed, but we've not fully digitized the whole process. So, for instance, we've launched DigiYatra 2 weeks back, but this is only at 1 counter in Delhi, 2 counters in Bangalore, and so on. The rest of the airport, you still have to do manual, wait in queues to show your ticket and your ID, get your face matched, and so on. And same for the security setup, I mean, if you're so confident this thing will work, which I am confident, by the way, as a passenger, I think they should roll it out on a much wider scale so that this problem, if you convert 30-40% of the passengers flying around domestically to DigiYatra passengers, then obviously your things are moving much faster and these kind of queues will not happen. And the last thing before,
but last these thing kind is, of queues are predicted.
Yes, these kind of queues are predicted.
These queues are predicted for the weekend. Predicted for the weekend and for the entire festive season. This weekend is going to be particularly bad, and for the government to shift and for the aviation ministry to shift all the blame just to the airlines, and that is not completely fair either. That's not the true picture. There is an element that the government controls at the airport as well, and that is in a mess as well. So we simply didn't prepare for what was to come, which is why we are seeing what we are seeing. For an hour and a half flight or an hour 15-minute flight, the waiting time, the delay is almost 6 hours. I was flying to Khajuraho on Saturday. It's a 1 hour 15-minute flight and the delay was 6 hours. Returning again, 1 hour, 15-minute flight, the delay, waiting at the airport, 4 hours. Is that journey even worth it? But the fact is that it's not happening just in India. I think all of us need to know and recognize that a situation like this has developed across the world. There are airports across the world that are seeing the situation that we are seeing in India. So it's not unique in that sense. Let me leave it there for the moment. Ajay and Parvez ji, thank you very much for joining us.